Williams is there. Good morning. It's 8:42 here, 18 now before 9. Advisory services offered through Second Half Financial Partners, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. The opinions voiced and information provided in this material are for general informational purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments are appropriate for you, please consult with a financial advisor. Second Half Financial Partners, LLC does not provide tax or legal advice. Please consult your tax or legal advisor regarding your particular situation. It's time to check in and see what's happening on that roller coaster we call the financial markets this morning with the help of Philip Statler from Statler Financial Services in downtown Sebring. Philip, good morning. It's good to hear you this morning. How are you?
Good morning, Dave. Doing well. Again, another chilly morning, but I think that's going to change tomorrow, I hope. The markets weren't too chilly yesterday, which was good.
Yeah, they kind of warmed up nicely in the process. After the shellacking we took the day before, Dow was up 0.75%, 370 points. The S&P was up by 52. The Nasdaq was up by over a full percent, up 236. And evidently, we're willing to take some chances because the growth stocks on the Russell 2000 were the big gainer. It was up by 1.2%. It's funny how we get 24 hours to digest news that we don't like, and all of a sudden, never mind, let's start buying stuff again. Wall Street traders are, I've always said, it's like the study of abnormal psychology, isn't it?
It is. They got their metrics, and they look at their metrics every day, sometimes every hour, to determine what they're buying and what they're selling. And a lot of information feeds in to their systems to decide what they're buying and what they're selling.
Absolutely. Combination of some bargain hunting, obviously, after the shellacking on Monday. The software stocks generally recovered a little bit yesterday off of some news about one of the other artificial intelligence providers, Anthropic. It made people feel a little bit better about software. But I caught something on my tip sheets this morning. I forgot to mention this before we went on the air. There's a bunch of real bearish attitude going on Microsoft. If it continues to go down, it's going to cross its 200-day moving average, which I gather for the chart geeks is one of those indications that if it goes down below that, it's Armageddon, or it becomes a floor and a support level for Microsoft if it goes back up. But something's going to happen with Microsoft soon because they're one of those software providers that's kind of gotten kicked where it hurts over the last 3 weeks.
They have, because they're playing in the AI space as well. With their, is it Copilot they have? I can't remember which one they have, but
it's Copilot on my Windows machine. That's right.
Yep. So they're playing in that space, but they're also in the software space. So they're kind of getting whacked on that side, and I haven't heard much about their AI really, being some latent great thing. So I'm sure those two things put together are putting some pressure on them.
Absolutely. Frankly, for my part, I kind of see Copilot as an annoyance that gets in my way when I try to do regulars. But then again, I'm not a fan of too terribly much outside of letting ChatGPT draw goofy pictures of me. The software business might get a boost or might end up really hitting the skids tonight because after the close, the big kahuna of artificial intelligence, NVIDIA reports, and invariably they're one of those kind of like Apple always has been. Yeah, they've got projections. Yeah, they'll probably make projections, but unless they beat the fact set consensus by a mile, it's considered bad news. So that'll be a market mover overnight and into tomorrow morning. But still a whole bunch of stuff going on to watch over. And you were mentioning AMD, the people that started out just basically making generic Intel chips to put into cheap desktop computers. Now, all of a sudden, they're getting into artificial intelligence, and you mentioned yesterday that Meta had signed a contract to spend a gob of money with them. Boy, did they benefit. They were up like 9% yesterday.
Yeah, of course, you get a big contract like that, and it's actually a signed deal. It's going to affect the stock price because that's going to definitely help their revenue numbers. You never know about the bottom line, but definitely the revenue numbers will be helped out.
Absolutely. It's going to make things interesting for the NVIDIA report tonight. So those two stories kind of tie together because Jensen Wong's going to have to come up with a story as to why another tiger in the jungle isn't going to change their dominance one tiny little bit. Other things going on. You got a reading on consumer confidence yesterday I missed when it came out about 10 o'clock. I gather we're not quite as stinking thinking as we thought we were, are we?
Yes, consumer confidence for February seemed to be moving up. In January, it was 89. For February, the reading was 91.2. Not a big increase, but it's the direction and the indication because the assumption was, or the analysts thought it would go down. And so it kind of was counter there. And so that was some good news heading upward in the right direction.
The analysts must have been watching CNN or something, huh? Yeah, it is amazing. Depending upon what news source you watch most, either the world absolutely stinks and it's close to coming to an end, or the world is a wonderful place with a few blemishes on it that we need to fix. And when you get surprised by an overall number, reading the broader population number, it's fascinating to watch exactly what the people are really thinking. If I remember correctly, consumer confidence when it hits 100 were neutral, right?
I think so. I'm not
I think
actually
that's
100% sure. I'm not sure how
yeah,
that
I think
actual index works, but
I think I remember that's what that metric means in the process. So we're not exactly optimistic, but at the very least we're getting a whole lot less pessimistic about the world as it is. Speaking of pessimism and optimism, we heard Home Depot yesterday. The other big kahuna in the home improvement business reported this morning. How did Lowe's do?
Lowe's had a good quarter. You can't complain about their quarter. They saw numbers where they need to be. So they beat on that, both on earnings and revenue. So that was good for the fourth quarter. However, just like Home Depot said this week, the housing macros remain to be, putting pressure on them because of the lack of turnover in the real estate market. And they also, revised their forecast downward, well below the expectation. And so that's putting pressure on Lowe's this morning. They're down about 3.33%.
Interesting. Those two very often have different stories about their projections and their performance. This time they're actually singing the same song, aren't they?
They are. They definitely are seeing the same things in their numbers.
Understood.
Got a couple of other ones for you that are household names, Dave. GoDaddy,
Yes, sir.
the big website development, email that they can handle anything that small business needs when it comes to their internet stuff or their advertising type things. So, but they kind of forecasted their annual revenue below estimates. And so that's not sitting well with those folks. They're down. Well, they were down 9. Now they're down 16.5%.
Ouch!
Yeah.
I sure hope they don't. I sure hope they don't raise my price on the email system we bought from them. Yeah, we're regular customers at GoDaddy here, and for the amount they charge us, I figured they'd be doing gangbusters.
Then we had First Solar reported. Again, they missed on their earnings number substantially by almost 30 cents a share. Revenue did come in ahead of expectations, but we're seeing them trading down today. Well, kind of like the other one. They're down 16.5% this morning.
Woo! We got some wild swings going on this morning, don't we?
We do. Let's see. I'm trying to see. There's a couple other interesting. Oh, Lucid Group. That's the electric vehicle manufacturer. They posted a wider than expected loss for this last quarter. I was trying to see it real quick. Yeah, by $1 a share. They lost $1 more than they expected. Now, revenue came in more than expected, but definitely putting some pressure on them this morning, down 3.6%.
That sounds like almost the dot-com boomer. We're getting tons of revenue, but boy, we're spending money 10 times faster than we're earning it.
Yeah, that's true. The last one I want to give you is let's look at the liquor industry a little bit.
Yeah,
Diego, the British spirits company, they missed on their profits. Let's see, I had it up here. This last, yeah, here we go. They say they're the world's biggest spirit maker.
really.
They slashed their dividend, um, blaming it some on the tariffs, but yeah, they missed across the board, and they are trading down. Let's see if I can push to that. Here we're down 11.5% today. They cut their dividend too. That's a big deal.
Yeah, that would end up not being a fun process. Yeah, the trend, the vice business in general. I've always said, if you're in that primarily, smoke, tobacco, alcohol, and whatnot, it's a shrinking market whether you like it or not. The entire goal is to go for share because the market itself is shrinking day by day, isn't it?
It is, less and less people are drinking. I mean, statistically, they've measured that, and the alcohol use is declining, and tobacco has kind of always been on the decline for probably the last 20 years
Oh yeah, or more than that.
or
Bank
more.
of
Yeah,
America exec. Bank of America exec pretty well. In our view, it might be that socializing for younger generations has moved from the bar stools to the barbells.
yeah. There you go.
Guys got a Guy's got a streak of poetry in him. Resetting the table yesterday was an up day on Wall Street. All the major indexes were up, even including the small stock index that did especially well. 45 minutes before we opened this morning, what are we looking at?
It's looking good, Dave. Again, we got green ink across the board. The Dow's up a little over 1/3% as well as the S&P 500. The Nasdaq 100 is up almost 0.5%, and the Russell 2000 is up about 0.4. So everything's got some good numbers heading into the open this morning. On the other side, we see silver, a big jump yesterday, crossed over 90 this morning, up 3.1% to $90.26 an ounce. Gold
Ooh.
up about 0.5%, and then crude oil is moving up, but it's lower than yesterday, Dave. It's up a little less than 0.5% to $65.94 a barrel right now.
I mentioned before we went on the air, that was the macro that I was kind of curious about after President Trump's kind of absolute sounding statement on the State of the Union address about not allowing Iran to make progress on nuclear weapons. I was figuring that saber rattling might really make the price of oil go through the roof. I'm relieved we're not overreacting to that. Looking across the ponds, the Asian Rim is kind of still in catch-up mode after the Chinese markets were shut down for a week last week. Mainland Chinese markets both were up in the neighborhood of a full percent at the close. Most of the rest of the Asian Rim markets also up markedly at 6 a.m. close this morning. Europe about the same, just not quite as enthusiastic. Average European index, they're all green, but the average is up by about 0.5% halfway through their trading day. Getting my retirement together and getting the risk out and getting the assured income in, that gets more important with every passing year. How do I find you to make sure that I can retire on schedule?
Dave, one of the things that's important to me is making sure that the folks in our community have an actual plan in place. And that's why I've done all that I've done to create the core retirement design. They can give us a call at 863-382-0037 to schedule their call where we'll help to make sure that they are on the right path to the retirement they always dreamed of. And then join us this weekend for the Statler Financial Radio Show, 6 a.m. and noon on Saturday, 10 a.m. Sunday morning on Highlands News Talk, 7:30 a.m. and 95.3 FM.
And newstalk730am.com. Let's see if we can keep the green ink momentum rolling. We'll see you tomorrow morning and check in at that time. Fair enough?
All right, fair enough. Have a great day.
Thank you. It's 105.7 Light FM and Statler Financial Services. Philip Statler.
Folks, again, I want to thank you for joining us today as we close out today's show. Remember, we're here for you to help. All you have to do is give us a call. Join us again tomorrow. Thanks now.